Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Jesus Bro from 2017. And this is the winner of my Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. For some reason, you guys really like when I review Channel Awesome or Channel Awesome adjacent movies. I don't really get it, as I don't actually watch any of these people. So I'm usually coming into these movies with having seen very few of their videos or having seen none. Out of everyone in the kind of Channel Awesome clique or whatever it is, even if Samexcomex is in that or not, I seriously have no clue. I've probably seen more of his. And this film is very different from the other two Channel Awesome related, whatever it is, movies I've seen, Atop the Fourth Wall and Kick-Assia. This was actually written to be a film. It is developed to be a film. The cinema snob, he himself is in it and helped write it, but his character is not in it. Although I think this film might have benefited from him being in it, but that's beside the point. That this was not made out of sort of some hubris, egotism that I'm used to saying with these kind of movies. This is trying to be a send-up of these kind of Christian, I guess they're called pure movies or whatever, that become more and more popular nowadays, a lot of them going direct to video and things like that. I don't know that genre at all. I'm assuming this is sort of a parody send-up of that in a little bit of ways. And it's sort of an interesting idea to do that, I guess, but it also sort of isn't, because I don't know if they knew exactly what they were saying other than just sort of becoming a funnier, more cynical version of one of those, because that's ultimately what this film is. It's not like anti-religion. It definitely has a positive message, I think, despite the language and all, how wacky and silly it is. And I think there are probably people who are religious and who are Christians who would probably be down with this movie to a certain regard. So I think it comes in making you think it's going to be more cynical than it really is. It sort of has a dull edge on that regard. But I think the thing with Jesus Bro, especially in comparison to the other Channel Awesome movies, it's much more better made. It's done by people who clearly, at least in a low budget sense, know how to make like a cheap on-demand or like rental on Vimeo sort of movie. And they're competent at that. I wouldn't say they excel at that. I wouldn't say they're great filmmakers. To be honest, it feels like a lot of these guys like watch too many bad movies and that's all they watch, and so their kind of cinematic tastes are pretty bad because of that. It's like he brings up things like Tree of Life, which, like, watching this movie I'd get no sense that he really knows who Terrence Malick is. And I think the excuse that Kick-Assia stuff and other kind of low budget things used to have is, oh, I didn't have the budget so I couldn't do shots like that, but now we have like the technology that's very readily available to make better stuff, that this is a little less excusable. I really didn't think, it's sort of like someone made the best version of a crappy movie where everyone is talking like they're in a film school film. And it's like a lot of these films feel like they never really evolved from that. They're like really saying their dialogue like they just learned how to memorize lines. They don't really know what they're doing with the character. There's certain people I think that are a lot better than usual in these kind of movies, like the guy who plays Carlos Fard Muhammad and David Gobble, who plays the main character. They definitely have some charisma about them, and they're able to cast this a little better than most of these things are, because they're not putting these already established characters into a story. They're able to create these characters and make them better situated for the story. There's certainly, like, this isn't like of the movies I've been forced to watch like the worst one, but I think in a thematic level it's incredibly flawed, because like, are you cynical or are you not? And it sort of like doesn't answer the question. And I think in a lot of ways, like, this is a movie that's taking on a subject that's like way too big for its britches. The reason I'll watch a B action movie is because I know like I've called, or a cheap horror movie, and those are able to kind of ascend a little higher than like dramas like this in terms of a low budget level, is because you can get away with a lot with those kind of films. Clerks is the only thing that'll ever get away with like a bunch of people talking with shitty cameras. I don't really think that's gonna happen again. A lot of people would like it to happen again, but like, prove to me what other movie has had that happen. It's never going to happen. And taking on a major topic like this, which to be honest I don't know if Kevin Smith entirely succeeded on, but did a much better job and had at least interesting monologues and stuff delivered by people like Jason Lee and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and like interesting ideas in it. That Dogma might not be his greatest movie, it might be flawed, but it still sort of works in its own way. Jesus Bro, like all these movies, feel, this is an hour and a half, it still feels intolerably long, it's hard to stay awake during. I really don't like this kind of production because it just feels like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And it's like this whole kind of like, I don't need to like advance as a filmmaker kind of filmmaking sort of thing. And you can tell these guys have edited, you can tell these guys know a certain amount, but I don't really think they understand how to write a film, because ultimately the writing and the execution is still bad. I think it's trying to say like what matters is who we are while we're here on earth and stuff is, I guess, the basic moral of Jesus Bro. But that's sort of like, okay, I guess. I also sort of wonder, it's great that this film didn't have the Cinema Snob as the lead. I actually like Brad Jones in the Cinema Snob to a certain degree, but I actually think you could have made the case that he could have starred in this and could have done a good job. Maybe he has a reason for that. I'm sure someone in the comments is going to tell me his reason for that. I actually thought he would have done a good job. He probably has more charisma than the guy in the lead, although I don't think he's bad or anything like that. With Jesus Bro, it just feels like, you know, maybe a more notable, interesting attempt at making one of these Christian films, which are usually not very notable or interesting other than like what they do financially. Unless like a major interesting director like Terrence Malick, who's a big Christian, does something with it. Most of the time when you see these guys like make these like low budget things, they're not really that inspired. They're more about the message than they are about the filmmaking. And I'd say Jesus Bro kind of falls into that also. It's more about the message and the kind of cluttered joke style that like I hate from the Channel Awesome stuff, where it's like look how schmarmy and right I am into your ridiculousness. Certainly this does a better job at it. And there's certain like cutaways and things that were at least closer to a joke than I'm used to with these people, but I still like never laugh at them. I'm just sitting there like, yo, cool, you guys, like, you took some philosophy classes and read some books and things and are able to sound like you're talking all smart, and now I have to listen to you guys like, you know, intellectually jerk off in my fucking face. And that's like how these movies always are when these people talk. It's like they say way too much. It's exhausting to listen to them talk. I really don't like these movies. I just really, I don't get it. I don't think I get Channel Awesome. And I think with Jesus Bro, I get what they're trying to do, but what they're trying to do ultimately is like do a different thing in a genre that ultimately is just there to back up opinions of people who already have those opinions. And what would have been more interesting is if it took me in more of a surprising place, which this film doesn't really do. It kind of like feels like it's going to be a satire or a different thing or a thing about atheism, which I honestly don't know if you could do an interesting movie about someone just saying no all the time, because the conclusion is always going to be them saying yes. I mean, it's like basically this movie accomplishes the same thing that sequence in Roger Rabbit does, where Roger Rabbit's like, and Eddie Valiant, and he's like, you will take the drink, I won't. You will take the drink, I won't. And then he changes it, and then he drinks the drink. And that sequence, by the way, is better than this entire movie. The Cinema Snob can be a really interesting, smart person. He's one of the better ones who does reviews, and he doesn't like hold back in ways, and I can tell he really likes movies. But I think what he's done is the same thing that a lot of these guys have, is they get obsessed with these like kind of laughably silly genres, but don't necessarily know what to say about them. I think Lindsay Ellis is a lot better at doing that with like blockbusters and things, but like with this, it's like, what are you saying about the Christian film? It's like you're sort of saying like, well, their end message is good, but like we're cynical. It's like that's the whole thing, I guess. Like we found a way to make one of these. I mean, some ways I think like, is it like in a way they like apparently like to make fun of these things? I don't really know what they think of them for the most part, or how religious they are, but it just feels like maybe like what they were trying to do is what this main character, who was an internet personality atheist, who then drinks holy water beer and then becomes a Christian and spreads his word around and stuff. In some ways, I don't know the Cinema Snob, but it feels like it's like trying to sort of do what the main character is doing, maybe? I don't know. It's like, because it does feel like it ends up kind of preaching like more like, hey, you know, religion's pretty cool. And you're like, what? That was it? That was the whole movie? Like, and then everything goes back because it would have gone too far. So is he still an atheist, but he got married, and the whole thing was about love, but then he does believe in God, so then he is an atheist still? Like, I think ultimately like this film was about like kind of like going like, see, we could do one of those. And I'm kind of like, yeah, you did, but it's still not good. I think it's a genre made of people who aren't really saying much other than like, hey, God and all that stuff's pretty cool. And I'm like, all right, was that it? That was it? Like, it's nothing against religion. I'm just criticizing these films that like ultimately you're just saying, hey, this thing that I believe in is really great and I believe in it. And this film is kind of like, hey, you know, if you just make sure you're a good person, that's what this whole thing is really about. And you're like, all right, so was that it? And that's kind of like what I come to with this one. You know, certainly it was a little more creative about what it's trying to be made. Certainly they actually did try to make a movie, but ultimately, like all these films, it's extremely flawed, and they don't actually know what they're trying to say with it. They're just thinking about how they can say it, and they don't think about what they are saying when they can say it. And I think this film kind of falls into the trap of all of them. Although it is a little different, it's maybe a better movie, sort of, and it might be shorter than a lot of them, I think. I hope it didn't feel that way. But I think Jesus Bro just kind of goes on the pile of Channel Awesome stuff that I kind of, after the end of it, I'm like, I wish this didn't exist, and I wish people wouldn't make me watch them all the time. But here we are again, and I guess Jesus Bro, like all of them, kind of just exists for its own cause and for its own creator's interest and ego, and doesn't really find a way to validate itself other than that. So if you would like to talk about Jesus Bro, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. And if you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge to my Patreon, and maybe I'll be reviewing a movie of your choice next month. Thank you very much for watching.